Hallo miteinander, I'm Gashady6 and this is Metroid II Return of Samus. Last time we swept these ruins clean of all vermin and valuables. There is nothing left that we want from down here, but getting back out can take a while. I don't know of any shortcuts around here. But our way back still won't be a boring one because we've got all kinds of mad robots to deal with. One of them that I really don't like is Autumn, these flamethrower using guys. I don't really think they have a pattern. They really just use their weapon whenever they feel like it. And they're also indestructible, so you can't just shoot them out of the way. Before I forget, we also got a lot of new equipment last time, including my beloved space jump. Can you believe that we have almost gotten all of the items in the game? There's just one single piece of equipment that we're actually missing. It's a little bit strange how early you get them in Metroid II. In the later Metroid games, item progression is a lot more linear. But here, you get them kind of in bunches, and very early on too. Coming up is a good example for how useful the space jump can be, apart from being just so fun to use. If you've gotten experienced with it, you can evade the Otrax's lasers easily and quickly get up this shaft. The only other alternative to get up here would be to use your spider ball. And that would take its sweet time. You would still have to bomb away the Otrax so that you can go past them, because you know, contact damage. Despite some initial difficulties, we have made it past the vicious Otrax, and we can now return to the surface and get to a new point of interest. Just to the right from here. What we will also meet there is another new little helper of ours, called Proboscum. Emphasis on scum because their only purpose is for Samus to wipe her feet on them. That is when she decides to have feet. Not such a permanent property of hers, as you can see from all this rolling around. With the help of the Proboscum we can get two very important items, one of them being the fourth E-Tank. Now we're really ready for anything. The other item is another missile pod. Before I started the LP, I briefly considered doing a challenge run where I wouldn't pick up any E-Tanks. However, I decided against it because there are some parts of the game where I don't even know how to avoid taking at least some damage. But still, low item runs have been a thing for Metroid players. You've got to remember that the earlier Metroid games only had one difficulty, so that's the only way to make these any harder. The only game of the series that rewards you for doing this is actually Metroid Zero Mission, where you can get special endings if you complete the game with 15% or less of the collectible items. In this little cave, we are greeted by another Gamma Metroid. This one really isn't easy to fight, especially if you fall all the way down to the bottom. But we've had even more disadvantageous battlefields, so he is also not a problem. But looking at it, we took quite a beating here, didn't we? Nothing to worry about. There is actually an energy refill very close nearby. But before we can think of something like that, we have to get out of this hole. This isn't actually hard to accomplish. We don't even need to use the Proboscum for that, because we can just rely on our trusted space jump. Oh yes, the space jump. I love it so much. I'm not sure if I told you enough times. It only wakes the most positive emotions in me. As you can see from me happily skipping about with it. But this can change very quickly. Metroid II can really affect your mind. You know, sometimes when an enemy hits me, it feels like an insult. Saw how I took revenge on that fly? Yes, that was only out of spite. And there you have it. That was a glimpse of my dark side. Metroid II can bring out the worst in a human being. It is a profile of the personality, a mirror of the subconscious. You know what else my subconscious wanted at that time? It wanted to get out of that area quickly. Maybe a little too quickly because we forgot something. We want to stop back at the missile refill that we used earlier. Not only will that take us only a few seconds, but it'll tell us how many missiles we have as a maximum. 210. That's very good. It means that we haven't missed a thing so far. It seems we are really ready for anything. What could possibly go wrong? Well, we might be horribly mauled by grotesque aliens, but we don't plan on doing that. Samus is not authorized to be mauled by grotesque aliens. In the meantime, we have almost arrived back at our destination, which is the intersection that will lead us to the second part of Sector 4. If you've been keeping track of the numbers, you know that there are still 6 Metroids alive down here. The area we are going to is very remarkable. Remarkable as in remarkably confusing. You might not be able to understand right away, but keep in mind that Metroids 1 and 2 did not have an auto-mapping feature. You couldn't just press a button, see where you've been, see where you want to go and calculate routes. Back then you didn't have such luxury. For finding the Metroids you can only rely on your sense of direction and your memory. Metroids like this one. This guy is actually easily exploitable. If you go down through its shell and then shoot missiles through the illusionary blocks, it will have no chance to fight back against you. Of course, that is a very cheap way to win, so we're gonna give it a fighting chance. A chance that it's not really going to do it any good. But back to the subject of this area, you'll find out that it is very copy and paste-ish. All passages kind of look very similar to one another. And I bet that if I put you on a random spot in this labyrinth, threw the Game Boy right into your face and told you to find your way, you would not have a clue on where to go. I also think you would sue me for assault, but that's besides the point. Fighting the Gamma Metroid that we've just found is very simple and straightforward. There's really no big trick to it. But after taking care of it, I can point out something to you. Some subtle clue that the game gives you to keep you from getting lost in these indistinguishable rooms. It's this very room that holds the unique reskin of the mindless flying enemies, called TPO. They're simple maintenance robots, and they will tell you that this is their room. What's so special about the TPO room? It has an opening at the top that will lead you into a chamber that has some kind of webbing in it, I guess. The Alpha Metroid that we can find here is not as unnecessary as you might think. During the fight you will likely find out that the webbing can easily be broken by your beams, but it will block any missiles that you shoot at it. And that can really be a problem in the room that's about to come up. The Metroid that hides in that room is possibly the hardest to find in all of Sector 4, and once you've found it, it's even very tricky to get to. To start the fight, you first have to find the hidden passage down here, then only can you enter its chamber, but that's just where the fun starts. You have to create an opening with a beam first, only then can you whip out your missiles, all of course while being relentlessly pummeled by the Metroid. It's such a tiny room, isn't it? I don't know how you would fight that thing without getting hit at least a few times, but considering our situation, we did okay, didn't we? I think we can be proud of ourselves. And happy because we'll actually never see this missile stopping gimmick ever again. Nope. The game will find other hazards to throw our way. Who knows what lurks around the next corner? Maybe a new type of Metroid? I wouldn't want to tell you in advance. I think it's one of the big strengths of this game, that it's just kind of unpredictable. This room looks suspicious, it must have something in it. Nope, false alarm. See what I mean? The following room is one of those where we really don't want to waste any of our time in. We're just going to drop ourselves all the way to the bottom. Any second now. Oh, this is quite a deep fall. Squish. Nah, just kidding. There's no falling damage in Metroid games. Though in the Prime series you can get briefly staggered if you fall for too long. But we've got something else to worry about now. This Gamma Metroid, he's one of the tougher ones to fight. In fact, so tough that he made us lose our first E-tank of the LP. Don't worry, it's nothing too permanent. In fact, it couldn't be more temporary. If we go down here, we can find an energy refill right in this room. You can even spot it from above, so it's really hard to overlook. With our newfound strength, we can go look for the very last Metroid of Sector 4. He shouldn't be very far away from us. I mean, none of the Metroids were really far apart in this area. They simply enjoy some good company, but not everyone's, not ours for example. Perhaps he's even in the very next room. We will see shortly. And what do we see? No Metroids, only the very boring Meeboid enemy. It's another simple reskin of the flying types. It's really strange that they made so many of them, but the Meeboid is exclusive to this room. It doesn't do more damage or take more damage than the other flying types. Come to think of it, simple critters and Metroids are never in the same room. I guess there is some sort of food chain on SR388, but the ecosystem seems to be strangely out of balance. For being so powerful, there really shouldn't be so many Metroids around. Maybe the Chozo had something to do with it. Whatever is the case, it just shows that our mass genocide of Metroids is the right thing to do. Surely nothing bad will come out of their extinction. Nope, absolutely not. Just then, we felt another earthquake. You must be getting used to them by now. And that just really means that we can leave Sector 4 for good now. With how deep we ventured into here, you might be thinking that it'll take us a while, but nope, there are some really handy shortcuts nearby. If we make a big jump through this opening, it'll take us back to the very start of the area, emerging from a spiky pit. Somehow. Don't question it, just because video games. So, we've got a sector fully cleared, and we've been going for a while, so this looks like a good place to take a break. Well, almost. First I want to take you back through this Morph Ball maze, so that we can start the next episode on a more exciting note. I can promise you one thing though, the next sector will break the game's formula it's been going by so far pretty radically, so it'll give us a nice change of pace. I'm Gish86, this was Metroid II Return of Samus, and next time we'll pop that weird alien ceiling droplet thingy, if I feel like it. Bis bald!